All right, well, while I got the fenders off, I'm getting ready to prep them to get cleared. I'm going to go ahead and try to kind of start doing a little something with these inner wheel wells right here. Now, let's see, this one is actually the passenger side. This part right here being the bottom side, that would be toward the frame. This part up here. Now, if you'll notice, all along here, this actually goes behind the inside lip of the fender. These two right here being where you bolt through the bracket that comes off of the firewall, goes through the fender, sandwiches the fender between this and the bracket to hold the fender in place. So I've tried to stick this one up there kind of initially. I think my plan was to kind of just use the bolts to bolt this to that bracket and start kind of getting a rough idea for kind of where I'm at with everything. Because what I'd like to do, because you obviously kind of have to have it mounted to the fender when you put it on if the radiator support is not on. So I want to kind of go ahead and start kind of getting it trimmed up a bit. Now you can see this black line that I put on there. That's going to be my initial cut right there, because this sticks in and looks like the firewall and the air box and a bunch of other stuff is in the way. I can't even start to put it in with that being in the way right now. So that's going to be my first cut. The next thing that I ran into is that lower brace that I had to make for the hinge, for the hood hinge. It's hitting kind of somewhere right in here. I can't even really nail down exactly where just yet. I'm going to say probably right in here. That looks like the newest paint that's been knocked off. So my first move, I'm going to make this cut that bottom section off of it right there, then move back over there and see if I can't go ahead and see if I can get this thing to start working under there a little bit. So I'm going to do some cutting, and then we'll come back over there and try to get a look at how it fits. All right, well, that's kind of how it goes in there at the very least. Now, you see that bracket right there? That's the one that those two bolts go there, that the fender bolts through that and to right there on that. So I need to pick this whole thing up. That's got to sit against there. So right now, you see our bracket right here for our hood hinge comes down, and it's hitting, so it won't let me come up. The bottom of our air box is gonna hit. It's about an inch away from hitting right now. So you see, kind of made some preliminary marks right there. I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna straighten out those lines. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut out that section. That way, hopefully I can get it to sit up around that. So I'm gonna go do some more cutting, and we'll just keep whittling away at it till we get it. All right, so here we go. So you see, I'm gonna try to use this trusty stick right here to make my line, I don't know, somewhat straight. I try to get as straight as I can anyway, and that thing should be pretty straight. And then, just freehand a little bit too. So here I'll use my cutoff wheel instead of a plasma cutter, because it's just thinner metal and I can get a cleaner cut in this type of stuff like this when I use that. Plasma cutter tends to melt away a lot, and I don't cut quite as straight with it. Whereas this one I can get a little bit more control, and I can get a little more precise. All right, so we got some more cuts made, got it cleansed a little bit. I got it enough where I got a pair of vice grips kind of holding me roughly in place up here. So when I try to roll it up in place, I can just kind of set it right there for now. And once I roll it in place, I got to make a little bigger hole right here for my hinge to clear. And looks like right here, I'm getting pretty close to where I need to be. So I'm just really, you see I've made a line right here that runs parallel to my hinge, but I don't know that the cut needs to come all the way as far out as this one goes. So I'm actually going to kind of see where it hits and give about a 1/4 of an inch gap there. I'm going to come forward. So I'm going to make a mark there, and I'm going to just kind of make an angled cut to clearance it. I'll probably have to come back and build some metal in after the fact to strengthen all this up, but right now I don't want to cut away any more than I have to, so I'm just going to try to kind of whittle away at it. I'm going to have to cut maybe a little bit more right here just to clear this hump right here where it'll touch the air box. And I've got a little tiny spot back here that I'm going to have to mark and cut, but getting real close here. So let's make another mark here, kind of where I want to go. One there. Just kind of angle him. Same over there. All right. Let's got that. So, with a little bit of luck, after this next cut, I'll be able to bolt this thing, have a pretty good look at it here. All right, well, I got my 2 bolts in the back there, and everything back here clears now. So now the problem that I have is that my frame is good back here. I have plenty of clearance, but right here, I start getting into this rail. So I'm gonna have to cut some of this out right here to clear. Obviously, I'm probably gonna have to make a lot of cuts because my radiator support sits right in this area too. So it's probably gonna have to be a whole lot of this getting cut and trimmed away. For right now, I'm just going to kind of cut enough to get it where it'll actually sit on here. Because if I look down this line right now, my wheel liner, or I don't know, inner wheel well is actually coming up. It's actually running uphill. So if I let it down a little bit, that's kind of about where we should be sitting. And all my airbox and everything is clear right there. But it's got to come in some. So I'm going to make a mark here with my marker. We're going to have to cut some of this out to kind of get a look at that. Once I get it where it'll kind of sit up here in place a little bit, I'll block it up with some wood or something, and I might grab my radiator support and throw it on right here so that I can kind of see what else is going to have to get chopped out. Now, obviously, if I have to come back, once I get it all to fit, I'll come back after the fact on some of these areas and rebuild in a little bit of metal here and there and kind of, make sure it's all good and solid. On the 77, it had one mount back at the back where it tied in, which on this cab there is a mount as well that uses an 8mm. So I'll probably make a new piece of metal that'll go back and tie it into that and then weld to this, and then it bolted all the way down the inside of the radiator support. I will probably try to reuse that as well if at all possible. I got to just kind of see how the radiator support sits right through here. That's my plan for right now though, so let me whittle this part off and we'll see what we got. Alright, well, as you can see, I went and grabbed my radiator support, and it's just kind of thrown on here, and I got the two nuts kind of holding it in place at least, because I want to kind of get an idea for how this is actually, if it's going to sit together. It actually kind of looks like it's going to. I'm pretty excited about that. It looks like I trimmed off just the right amount over here on this side. Obviously, all of this is just kind of loose fitting right now, but it gives me enough to kind of get a good idea for what I'm looking at anyway here. Thankfully, it looks like I may be able to use these bolt holes on the radiator support and bolt it in like the 77 was bolted in, so that's kind of exciting. Let's see, we're started there. Radiator support can still move here. Let's see, feels like I'm gonna have to trim a little bit more down here. All right, so let me show you what I got here. All right, so for our initial fit up, you see we can use those factory bolt holes right there. As you can see, it's pretty good down through there. Need a little bit more light. Let's see, you can see that making a little bit of contact right down in that area right there on that post from the radiator support and the inside of this. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to cut a little bit more off of that, and I think it'll let it all kind of slide together pretty nice. So then hopefully we'll be able to go ahead and pull it tight right through here, put some riv nuts in it. That way it'll bolt together like it did from the factory in 77. So that's kind of exciting because, man, if I can do that, this is all actually strong enough. The 77, the battery was mounted right here from the factory. Now, I don't know that I'm going to mount the battery right there. I'm thinking of doing a remote and putting 2 batteries back in the back somewhere, but can mount my air horns right there. That would be kind of cool. And I'm sure there's something else I'll need to put there. So my next move right now is going to be to pop all that back off and trim that little edge there so I can see if it'll slide together. Well, after some trimming and cutting, I left out a little bit of what I did. I ain't gonna lie, because I've had this thing on and off about 8 times and I was getting tired of moving the camera around. So, nonetheless, you see we got a nice tight fit all the way through there. Everything's looking really good for the most part. Everything is all clear. Now, looking at it from the wheel side. So, if you can see where this ridge is right here. So if I try to push this back, that's hitting the frame a little bit right there. So I'm actually gonna come right across this, right along this ridge right here. And I'm gonna cut that off. I'm gonna trim just a little bit more from right up here. And this little gap is gonna help it to sit against the radiator support a little bit better. So then we move back here. This is the factory mount from the splash liner from the 2000 model. That's already mounted to the floor there. So once I cut this right along here, that's going to free it up so that I can push it back enough and it won't hit the frame rail. So then I can just extend me a little piece of metal back that will attach right here. So I'll be able to bolt her on right there. That'll make it nice and sturdy. So pretty excited about that. You know what? Actually, I may not even cut this right here because I'm clear to the frame rail. So I'm just going to have to make a mark right in the middle where the frame rail kind of doesn't hit. Let's see if we look at it from the other side. Oh yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll make me a mark right here. So I'll just cut it from here to here, cut that off. That way it gives me a little bit more coverage on the inside in there. So that's our next move. Get that off and make those couple of cuts there, and then hopefully should be able to bolt up and pretty much be done, really. I'll just have to mark where I'm going to put my my riv nuts. You know, I'll basically have to drill a few holes out here, like up through here, and I'll put riv nuts from that side to stick out right here. Hopefully that won't interfere with anything out here with the grill. I don't think so. I think I got a pretty good gap right there. I don't know. I'll just have to try it and see, I guess. Actually, you know what? I'll take a look at it. I might just be able to put nut certs on the liner itself and just put bolts through from this side. That would work good too. So nonetheless, I'll have to do that, and then should be ready to weld that bracket on the back there, and then wash it off, scuff it up, and throw some paint on for now, because I know I'm probably gonna have to come back and, you know, once I put all my airbag stuff all down in here, I'll probably have to come back and cut some more, but I can always touch that up. So nonetheless, let's not put the cart before the horse. We still got some trimming to do. Well, I'm gonna go do some trimming and then we'll be back. Well, it is all bolted on. Pretty excited about that. You see she's bolted up here and bolted in up here in the factory locations. Got it fitting nice and tight all through here, all the way down through there. I've got my holes marked on the radiator support from the inside where I need to either drill holes or put in riv nuts. I haven't decided what I want to do there just yet. So then I move down here. All right. So as you see, this bracket right here, that is the factory bracket from the 2000 model cab that's coming over. And this big chunk of metal right here is the piece that I cut off of the original Wheelwell molding or the Wheelwell for the 77. Now I went ahead and I grabbed it because it's like double wall right here. It's two pieces of steel here, so it's a little more sturdy. So when I pushed that back where it's flat against it, I went ahead and I made me a little line right there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this piece of metal. I'm going to fold it over just enough so to match that angle, and then I'm going to plug weld these two pieces together. You can see this line right here. I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to cut it off. I'm just going to throw this part of it away. That way I keep the strong part, weld it together. This bolts up together really nice and tight, and I got a really good solid mount for my wheel well. So all you got to do is get that done, put the riv nuts in place, and that'll have this wheel well wrapped up. I'll have to come back after the fact, put me a little piece of metal right here to kind of just shore that up where I cut it out a little bit too much, but it's not a big deal. So now I'm going to get that piece back off, do a little cutting, trimming, and bending, and then we'll come back. Hopefully it'll be ready to tack together. Aha! There you go. You can see I decided to go ahead and throw me some rib nuts in there, bolted from the underside, bolted from the top right there. See, she's all fitting really nice. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Went ahead, I got my little piece of metal, my little filler metal put back in right there where I needed to, where I kind of got a little cut happy. Then we'll move to under here. You see where we already got that all welded and rebuilt right there, so it's held on nice and sturdy. And over here you can see right there, it's all bolted in place through those rib nuts. So there you have it. That dude is donezo. Now on to our other side. There you go. Steady chipping away at it. Got one wheel well down, one to go. Progress is progress, man. You know, it's the small victories along the way that make the big victory in the end. So come back for the next one. As always, like, subscribe, throw me a comment, ask me some questions. I really like to interact more, so I'd love it. You know, make a comment, ask a question. Come back for the next one where we're going to start working on the driver's side, which, if I remember correctly, is a bit more difficult than the passenger side. So see you in the next one.